Welcome to the Trust Factor Podcast, the only podcast that guarantees your success when you implement its divine age-old teachings. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. It's going to be an amazing week. Despite the craziness that's going on in the world, it is going to be an amazing week as usual, because it always is. It depends on our own perspectives. I want to start, as we've been doing lately, with a little bit of current events just to kind of give us all a perspective, because I'm not just sharing over what's happening in the news that you can hear it yourself. I want to give you a Torah perspective, a better understanding of what you're reading, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and why it's playing out the way that it is, and the lessons that we can learn from people who operate in an upside-down manner in this world. It's very important that we walk around educated and informed on these subjects, because if we don't, then we won't understand it when our friends, our colleagues, our coworkers, the people we interact with in the world come at us with all these claims. And if they have anything, they have claims. They're all false. They're all weak. They're all built on nothing. There is no substance or foundation to all of the claims that the mainstream brings out, because everybody is just parroting all the things that they hear. You need to be educated. You need to have a toolbox at your disposal that you can dip into and get whatever you need to address these criminals. So hopefully we can do some of that. Two things that I want to address. Number one is that you may have seen that in London, England, these IRGC supporters, the supporters of the current Iranian regime, decided that they wanted to attack London's Jewish community. What else is new? But where do these geniuses go? Where do these brilliant minds go? As an attack on the Jewish community, they attack our ambulances, Hatzalah ambulances. This hits close to home because I'm a Hatzalah responder and I've been one for almost 20 years. When criminals, when vile individuals choose to attack an ambulance, a life-saving vehicle that saves the citizens of London in an attempt to hit back at somebody they don't like and actions of a country, that gives you a clear indication of the level of, or the lack of, humanity in these individuals. People don't understand that Hatzalah is an unbelievable organization that has their own ambulance service. Yes, indeed. But that ambulance service is not just used for the Jewish community. Certainly, it's promoted to the Jewish community, and we are the vast majority of the benefactors of it. That's because we finance it. It's all privately donated and financed, volunteers. I don't get paid for my service, never received a stitch from it, even though I'm on call 24/7. Do you know why we do it? Because we care. That's it. Because we love our brothers and sisters, because we want to give back, because we want to make the world a better place. That's why we do it. And then these thugs come and target our ambulances. Just think about the level of degeneracy that has to exist in these people in order for them to make that determination that that's going to be what they go after. But yep, that's exactly what they did. And so they lit Hatzalah ambulances on fire. It's unbelievable. I want you to know, it's not once or twice that Hatzalah was called to and treated non-Jewish patients. I myself treated non-Jewish patients, and I myself called in incidences where non-Jews were injured in traffic accidents and the like. I called it in. And we had a team of Hatzalah members come onto the scene and treat these people for no compensation whatsoever. But they don't care. They don't see that. And in reality, we've probably helped somebody within these criminals' families. They just don't have the mental fortitude or capacity to understand what they're doing. That's why, that's what you find oftentimes, is that the people who bring into this world all of the hate and the misery and the negativity and the terrorism usually lack brain function. They don't have the mental capacity, the wherewithal to know the basic differences between right and wrong. They don't. They are either taught opposite or they simply don't have the mental capacity. It's not a bash on them. It's just reality. They are so empty and devoid of the ability to determine right from wrong, good from bad, that they go out and they do everything that they do to bring the world down. And we, my friends, do the exact opposite. It's a perfect example. Thugs, gangsters, terrorists come with their faculties and attack Jewish Hatzalah volunteer ambulance services, which we bring with our faculties to be able to save humanity, to help humanity, to make the world a better place. Just think of that. There's another story I'll share with you tomorrow because I want to get back into the book. But things are happening every day. We can't help but talk about it, but we need to learn from it. Because the next time somebody tells you, but why, it doesn't make sense. Everybody deserves and everybody is entitled to life and liberty. Yeah, no problem. But who are we talking about here? Understand what we're up against. Because if you have no clue what we're up against, if you're delusional about who the enemy is, then you have no idea about how to address them and how to deal with the problem at hand. First, you need to understand who you're dealing with. What is the problem? Then we can figure out a plan of attack. Most of the world has no clue. Certainly most of the Western world, those who were born and raised outside of the Middle East, have no idea of the mentality of the inhabitants of that area. And what happens generation after generation when the leaders, the Islamist leaders, pump into their minds all of these corrupt ideologies from birth, and they keep them uneducated. What happens when you have a nation that is subjugated, uneducated, and being fed propaganda and lies from birth, generation after generation? This, my friends, is the outcome. People who choose to attack the very same ambulance services that are designed to save innocent lives, Jews and non-Jews. Let's move on, my friends. Yesterday, we were talking about going to court. We were talking about how do you prepare? How does one prepare for going to court? And is it all in the preparation in this world, or is it all in the preparation in the next world? And the right answer, my friends, is to prepare in the next world. By speaking to your Creator, have that conversation with Him, recognize that you need to make change. And when you do, then the heavenly courts come out with the verdict, and that gets passed down. Whatever you see transpire in this world, whether it's a court case, whether it's a doctor, doesn't matter who it is, who's challenging you, the outcome of that challenge is determined in the heavens. And then it comes down. So your first focus, your instinct, should be immediately to turn to your Creator and say, I got it. I need some introspection over here. Give me a bit of time. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure what I did wrong. I'm going to atone. I'm going to make it right. Give me that opportunity. And a lot of times giving a little bit of charity makes a huge difference. Like we said, it can save you from certain death. And then the decree is held in Shemaim in the heavens and brought down to this world. That's the right way to approach it. The wrong way to approach it is the opposite, is to dedicate time and resources, money and sweat and tears, trying to make sure that you've got the best lawyers and you've compiled all kinds of evidence and supporting documents and you've planned and planned. And then right before you go in, if you're lucky, you throw out a small prayer. Wrong. That's not the right way. What does this all lead to? At the end of the day, you increase your chances greatly of success in any given situation. The more you pray, atone, and give charity, the more you increase your chances of a successful outcome. Now, doesn't mean that just because you've done these things that you're going to get a positive outcome every time. No, many times you will, probably the vast majority of the times. But there are going to be times where you've done all of this. You've done all the hard work in terms of connecting back to your Creator, doing an inventory on your life, and making change, making things right. And it still doesn't help you. It still gives you an unfavorable outcome. What's the problem, God? I did everything that you said I was supposed to do. I did everything that the podcast told me to do. How come I ended up being found guilty? How come now I have to deal with a diagnosis I didn't want to deal with, and so on and so forth? And the answer is that we have to accept every single outcome with love. When you have eyes to see and accept the outcome, just the act of accepting it, even though it's not favorable, it's not what you wanted, is another bonus. It is another credit to your account, a tremendous credit that carries over. Nothing is random and nothing is temporary. When it comes to the spiritual acts that we do that are divine, they are permanent. They are eternal. Nobody can erase them. That's why we benefit the most from them. When you do acts of spiritual kindness, when you do the mitzvahs, you create a ripple effect in this world and in the next that remains for eternity, cannot be erased. When you gain something material in this world, whether through finances or through relations or other channels, that pleasure that comes from it is always metered and always temporary. It will always be outdone by another transaction, or it will always fade with time. That's just the way things work in this world. Time makes everything go away. And so as great as you felt about buying that brand new car, within a few months or within a year or two, you're already looking at the next model. By the time you're done building that custom home you've been dreaming about, in comes your neighbor across the street, tears down that property, and builds one twice the size of yours. These victories that we have in the material world are temporary. Yes, they feel nice, but they don't last long. 15 minutes, 15 days, 15 weeks, 15 months, but eventually it all fades. The new car smell, my friends, it goes away. The spiritual victories that we achieve in this world are eternal. They stay with us through every visit. There's a word I want to teach you. It's called being a vatran. In Hebrew, the word levater, to be a vatran, means to not dig your heels in, to be somebody who relaxes their grip. I don't know what the direct word is as a translation of a mevater. Somebody who is a vatran can easily do these things. Somebody who is a vatran, who gives up control and who resigns himself to the outcome that God chose for him, lives a good, happy life. And that, my friends, is all this is about. If you look at the situation that's evolving around us, if it's the wars, if it's the economy, if it's health crises that are happening now like they've never happened before in human history seemingly, then you will lose your mind. If you're focused on these things all day long, trying to figure out how do I get around it? How do I go over it? How do I figure out a system to come out with the result that I want? Whether you're trying to be successful in business. If you think that the power is entirely in your hands, you are going to be miserable. How do I manage to live a long, healthy life? You know what's going to happen when you get sick? You're going to be miserable. Not even when you get sick. The entire existence where you're trying every potion in the world that they're pushing on you to live a life of eternity in this world, every time it doesn't pan out for you, you're going to be miserable. And the whole process of trying to do what goes against nature is also going to make you miserable. What's the next thing that's going to make sure that I never, God forbid, get cancer? What's the next thing that makes sure that, God forbid, I'm never going to get heart disease? And so on and so forth. So many people running around trying to avoid illness because they're so terrified of death. It's the same thing. All these people are doing is demonstrating their desire for control. The vatran is the guy who lets go of control. When you let go of control, my friends, when you release that kung fu grip, then God, like I said the other day, deals with you in the very same way. Measure for measure. Midah keneged midah. That is a steadfast rule that God put into this world and that he even operates by. So if he sees you not digging your heels in, not being determined to have control over every single situation, in fact, the exact opposite is true, that you're willing to give in to other people to see them happy and that they get their way also, and you're considering other people, and it's not just that you get your way, then he does the same with you. And he says, okay, Jesse is not deserving. But you know what? The same way the other people weren't deserving, but he allowed them to get their way and he didn't dig his heels in, I'm also going to allow him to get his way. I'm also going to be a vatran. I know that he's guilty and he is liable for X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to turn the other way. I'm going to look the other way because that's what he would do. And if he would do that, then I'm going to do that for him also. That's the way it works. So can you imagine if you roll through life like that, where you come upon certain situations that would normally rub you the wrong way and you overcome your natural inclination, and as a result of that, you do the right thing. God notices that and he acts with you in the same way. So take that rule and apply it to your life. Look at areas where you're looking for improvement, where you need something from him. And then in your prayer say, God, listen, I'm going to do the things that are going to go against my nature. I'm not programmed like this. It's very hard for me to do it. But I'm going to do it anyways because I want you to program nature for me in this area. I want to find my mate. I want to get married. I want to have children. I want to get over this illness. I want to finally have a reasonable income. Whatever it is that you're challenged with, say to him, God, I'm changing my nature so that you can change nature for me. And that's exactly what happens. And then when you've succeeded, you will start to see all of the waves part. You will start to see all of these opportunities open up and present themselves in your life to be that much more successful. God willing, we should all do that every single day. Have an amazing day, my friends. Thank you for spending time with us on the Trust Factor podcast. If you've heard something today that moved you, save this episode and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss upcoming conversations that challenge, empower, and uplift. And if you're on social media, connect with us. Leave your thoughts. Drop a quote that resonated with you. Hashtag the Trust Factor podcast. Until next time, keep growing in your trust and keep living with purpose. I'm Jesse Revivo, and this has been the Trust Factor podcast. Thanks for listening.